people understand now how the system can work for them. Let me just give you one final example, a real life example of two people who came to Huddersfield just out of college, set up a small product design company. This is them receiving an award for, this is our Creative Business Awards that we have in Huddersfield, Business of the Year for volume products. This is their product. Not only is it a great piece of flexible furniture, it's actually ideal for use in business incubators. And they've sold it around Britain and internationally. But the reason I picked them out is because as a group of people, they've used the Huddersfield system to its full. They've exploited it just in the way that I would want them to do. They've got every bit of value out of the system. They're the directors. They took some early money to bring in someone, a designer who could challenge them, push them hard in their concepts and thinking. They were able to access, in the media centre, a marketing entrepreneur who's been able to advise them about their branding. Obviously that kind of product that they've got is very easily copied, and so we were able to get them access to an expert in intellectual property. Another company in the media centre has helped them out with video and web design to market. And Peter here, retired bank manager who works in the business incubator, has helped them get access to investment. And that's the way it should be. They've built the system and good luck to them. They've moved out of the media centre. They're too big for us now. They've got their own place. And they're floating, free. And this is the way that they've used that cycle of creativity. And this is the way we want more people to do it. And so there's one other legacy. That the population decline has halted at the last census. Kirklees was actually the only region in West and South Yorkshire that was actually growing its population. The creation of creative industry, jobs and businesses is larger than the national, regional average now in Huddersfield. And one other thing, we're happy. We're so happy. A recent study told us that Huddersfield is now the happiest town in Yorkshire. In fact, the whole of the north of England. And look at this bottom bit. The only place north of Derby in the top 10. So you may have had low business confidence in 2003, but apparently you're a top 10 happy town now. You can tell me more about that later. But yeah, Huddersfield is now seen as a hotspot, not just for creative businesses, because creative business attracts other business too. They want to be part of that buzz. They all want to buy into it. And so, just to finish, just to leave you with a few issues and questions. I've told you a lot of positive stuff about Huddersfield. It's not all perfect by any means, and here's some of the questions that we need to think about. How do you keep the thing going? What I've tried to tell you is about 20 years. I tend to believe in 7-year cycles. I think things go in waves, and we've been through some ups, and we've been through a big trough, actually, I think, in Kirklees, in Huddersfield. And I think we're just about pulling out of that trough again. And I think part of that is because you stop telling the story. You start to become complacent and think, oh, we've done this now, everybody knows why it's happening, they know how it happened, they know where it came from, they know where it's going. They don't. People come in and they just see what they see, and they don't realise what the bigger picture is. And it's important to keep telling that story all the time, because the level of institutional amnesia is amazing. I get invited along to Common Purpose now in Huddersfield to actually tell the current generation of senior managers in the council itself, in the health service, in the police, but particularly the council. The council itself has forgotten what it was only 5 or 10 years ago. It's forgotten about it. And I think it's criminal when that kind of thing happens, because towns like Huddersfield, cities like Derby, haven't got enough resource that they can waste it, that they can squander it, that level of institutional memory, because institutional memory is an important resource. growing that leadership. You can't rely on a John Harmon arriving every 10 years. You need 40 or 50 John Harmons across the board in the public sector, in the voluntary sector. And you need to spread that ownership as well, as I've said. The worst thing that can happen is that it can be seen as just a little clique, the creative. It's the creatives, you know, let them have their little fling. And there's one other question I'd like to leave you with as well, which is something that concerns me, I think, a lot these days, because we've been through this creative revolution. We've been through this enormous creation of wealth, this excitement, this buzz, these glass and steel buildings. But have we created a better society? Have we created a more equitable, a more inclusive society? Who are the losers in the creative economy? And it's interesting, a lot of people have read Richard Florida's first book. Has anybody read his second book? Anybody here read Richard Florida's second book? The Flight of the Creative Class? It's all very interesting. Nobody ever seems to have read it. He's saying some very powerful things. Charles Landry's saying something similar too in his recent book, The Art of City Making, which is, what are we being creative for? Is it simply to produce the next generation of iPods or killer games apps? Now, I'm not knocking them, but is that all it's for? All this creativity? Surely it's about more than that. Creativity to me is about solving problems that really matter. Problems here in our cities. And so the question I would really like to leave with you is, how can we move from a creative economy to a creative society? Thank you.